All right, guys, we are going to be reviewing things that we learned back in lessons 1, lessons 2, and a little bit about lesson 3. Not so much on this paper about lesson 3, but really focusing on lesson 1 and lesson 2. So let's talk a little bit just about ecosystems. So ecosystems in general are a community of living and non-living things in a certain area. So we talked about different ecosystems that we would see and how ecosystems are everywhere in the world. We talked about how there's the tundra, there's the aquatic ecosystems, there's the grasslands, there's the forest, there's the desert. So there's all these different ecosystems that we see. And in these ecosystems, there's something called biotic and abiotic factors. And real quick, I just want you to silently think about what biotic and abiotic factors are. So biotic factors are living things in an ecosystem, where abiotic factors are non-living things in an ecosystem. All right? So we are going to name the biotic and abiotic factors in this ecosystem right here. Okay? There are 5 biotic factors. So the biotic factors are going to go over here. And there are going to be 5 abiotic factors in this ecosystem over here as well. Okay? So I'm going to name 3 of our biotic and 3 of our abiotic, and you guys are going to name the other 2 on your own. All right? So first, let's name, looking at this, I'm going to name the first 3 and you're going to name the next 2. So the first one that I see right away is going to be this leopard right here. So my first one is a leopard. Number 2, the next one that I see that's living are all of these bushes right here. And the third one is grass. So you guys can pause the video right now and name 4 and 5. So now abiotic. So anything that's not living that you would see in this ecosystem. So again, I said that there's 5 of them. So I'm going to number my paper. So the first thing that I see that's not living are these rocks right here. Another thing that maybe we don't see but we know is there is going to be sunlight. And another thing that we don't see but we know is there because we have trees would be air. And in case you didn't know, this right here is a pond, so that might help with your abiotic factor. And wherever there's grass or trees, you know that there has to be what in the ground for those to grow. That might help with an abiotic factor. So go ahead and fill in those last 2 abiotic factors. And then move on with us to the next section, okay? So now we're going to review the difference between a population and a community. Okay? So a population is a group of blank of the blank species that live in the blank place. I'm going to pause to see if you might know what those words are. Two of the words are the same. A group of organisms of the same species that live in the same place. Okay, so these group of organisms, it's the same species that live in the same place. So you can either draw a picture or you can write examples of it right up in here. So I'm not a very good artist. I cannot draw very well. So I'm going to draw some butterflies. That is my group of the same species living in the same place. So then a community is a group of blank species that live in the blank place and blank with each other. So if a population is a group of the same organisms, group of organisms of the same species that live in the same place, a community is a group of different species that live in the same place and they interact with each other. So this is like when we went down to the land lab and we looked through the creek and we saw the slug and we saw the snail and then maybe we saw some worms. They were all different species interacting with each other. They all lived in the same place. They all lived in that same community. But they were all a different species, and they were all living in the same place. So you can go ahead and draw pictures, or you can write examples. So I'm going to draw my butterfly. Again, I'm not a very good artist. Maybe a bunny. Again, I can't draw very well, guys. Bird. Whatever you want to draw. A fish. Okay. Lastly, we're going to talk about food chains. So a food chain, it shows what being blank from one blank to another. When we go from a food chain, it shows energy being transferred from one organism to another. And you guys have had a lot of practice with making food chains and food webs and things like that. You guys had to create a food chain for me, and then a week later you guys created that food web for me. So you are going to make one more food chain for me, and all you have to do is I want you to do a producer, a consumer, and a consumer. So you'll put a producer in this first circle, and then a consumer who eats that producer, and then another consumer who will eat this consumer. Okay? because the sun makes this producer, and then this consumer eats this one, and this consumer eats this one. And that is all I need you guys to do for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you want to color this, you're more than welcome to. Make sure you guys fill out this food chain, fill out your pictures, and fill out these last two abiotic and biotic factors, and submit this to me. Send it to me on Google Classroom. That way you guys can get your points for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or give me a phone call. And don't forget to come on to the Zoom. If you do have questions, you can join me on there. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.